Hey guys, it's Takasa here again. Welcome to another video review. So today I'll be reviewing the Zowie FK gaming mouse. I just did an unboxing of the Zowie FK and the Zowie AIM a couple days ago, and sorry I haven't produced this video review because I've just been busy and just haven't found the time. But I promised myself, okay, I'm really just gonna push out this review for my viewers, I guess, and just to tell you guys how awesome I'm actually finding the Zowie FK. So basically, this is the part of their new line, or new mouse coming from Zowie. Basically, they spot these same internals as the Zowie AIM, which I actually just picked up from their store as well, from the same order, but just a slightly different shape, a slightly narrower shape than the Zowie AIM, and I'm going to be doing a lot of comparisons to that as well. So I'm going to be talking about the price mainly, the build quality, the sensor, the buttons in general, the clickiness, the weight, and finally I'm going to conclude later on. So that's just a quick rundown. So first of all, if you've watched my unboxing, just quickly, it comes very simple. It comes with a box, a sticker, and a replacement mouse feet, and just the mouse. So this is what Zowie has always been really good with this. They don't, there's basically no frills. They like adding just simple packaging, which is very up my alley. For example, even with the DPI switching, with the software, it's very straightforward. You just plug into the computer, or you hold some buttons to adjust the polling rate, for example, and you just press a button for 3 preset DPI settings. So actually I really like that, because to be honest, even if you're allowed to set the DPIs at maybe like intervals of 1 or 50 or 100, most of the people wouldn't really set it that precise anyways. So that's what I like about it. As for the price, it's priced at 49.99 euros, I think, without tax. So shipped to Hong Kong, I ordered this and the Zowie AIM, which also cost 49.99. It came in a total of 122 euros, so it's quite expensive, but I really wanted to try this mouse because of just how awesome it is. Or it really resembled I guess a feel or a shape that I really liked, like the ambidextrous the Sensei and the IO 1.1, the Mio Mouse Optical, for example. So that's why this was really on my radar. So was the AIM, so I really wanted to try that as well. In terms of the build quality, in fact, even though it does sport a matte finish, like the Zowie AIM, as you can see right here, it is somewhat different. For some reason, if you can see, it looks very similar, but they feel somewhat different. The Zowie AIM is much more slippery in this regard, and the Zowie FK is not as slippery. In this sense, it is slightly easier to grip the Zowie FK matte finish as opposed to the Zowie AIM, which I don't know, over time maybe the Zowie AIM does feel not as slippery, but just from initial testing in the first couple of days, the Zowie FK matte material does feel slightly easier to grip. In addition, because of the shape, it is easier to grip the Zowie AIM as well, but I'll get to the shape later. In terms of continuing on with the build quality, the cord is actually quite nice, and it's because maybe the only Zowie mouse I've tried is actually the Zowie EC, and I can't really remember the cord of that, but the cord that's sported on the Zowie FK is one of those, like, plastic's not braided, but it feels quite elastic, and it doesn't really get tangled all that much. It's not, in fact, I would call it anti-tangle, if that makes sense. So it's one of the better cords, in my opinion, out of all the gaming mice I've tried. Alright, moving on to the sensor and really the performance of the Zowie FK. So the Zowie FK spots an Avago S3990, so it's one of actually the better sensors out on the market. It actually sports the same internals as the Zowie AIM I'm holding right now. So some people have kind of complained, oh, why haven't they done an upgrade? I mean, to be honest, I thought the Zowie S3090 is quite a good sensor already, so sticking with it is not really that big of a deal for me, because they did change the shape, and I think the shape is a deal breaker. So it does come in 3 separate DPI settings: 450, 1150, and 2300, which are quite odd figures from the usual 400, 800, 1600. So I think that's just a nice feature that I guess that they use to differentiate themselves. As they sport the same internals, I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of test videos of the AIM. The S3990 is, in terms of its maximum speed and its control, it actually goes at about 3 meters per second or above 3 meters per second. So this is really good. So I did these tests using Inetus, although some people really questioned the validity of it or the accuracy of it. But I think overall it does give like a plus or minus 5 to 10% of variance. So I think it's quite accurate. In terms of its jitter, on lower DPI settings is alright at 450 and 1150. If you can see from these pictures here, the jitter is not too bad, even at 125, 500, and 1000. Although at 1000 it does jitter slightly more. However, at 2300 DPI, it does jitter slightly more, which is, to be honest, not too bad since it is quite a high DPI mount. So when I move the mouse, it is moving a long way when I move it slightly. So some jitter is kind of expected, but not unbearable in any event. In terms of prediction, there is no prediction, as you can see, and apparently, or from my test at least, and from other tests as well, the S3090 does not have any acceleration issues. In terms of the liftoff distance, so usually with stronger optical lenses, optical sensors, the liftoff distance is quite high. However, Zowie has employed, they really want to focus on improving the performance of their mice, and like I said in my EC1 review like 3 years ago, the liftoff distance is very low. They employed like a lens, basically. You can kind of find these on the forums of people doing reviews of this, and it kind of like adjusts the optical in some way, so the liftoff distance is very low. It's actually only 1.8 millimeters. So, but however, if you want to lower even more or adjust it or whatever, you can always just attach mouse feet. You can buy the mouse feet from me, obviously, but not really promoting my mouse feet here, but yeah, you can do that. I actually took apart the Zowie FK just to check the internals, and I just attached two pieces of mouse feet on here. So I have 0.9 mm worth of mouse feet here. So that's that. In terms of this button, this is actually quite a crucial part. Even though it sports the same micro switches as the Zowie AM I have right here, the Huano switches, and some people have complained the Huano switches aren't as good because they feel a lot harder and they're more like tacky, they're not as soft, and they don't click as well. So if you watch my test video, you can tell that it does have quite a pronounced feedback. Like it's very, very responsive in the sense, more responsive than the Omron switches in general. However, in the AM, the switches, the buttons at least, were very, very hard. You can check out my, if you can hear this, or you can check out my test video. They're very, very hard, even though they sport the same micro switches, the Huano switches on the FK, they actually feel lighter and they feel more responsive. So that's actually a very, very good thing in my opinion. And the fact that it made it lighter, I don't feel there's any need to really mod it. In fact, I personally quite enjoy this feeling. I don't find the need to mod it into Omron switches anyway. And especially with the side buttons. The side buttons were extremely, extremely hard on the Zowie AM. However, on the FK, they're actually not as hard. So this is fastly becoming one of my more favorite mice out of all my ambidextrous mice and ergonomic mice as well. So finally, moving on to the weight and the shape of this mouse. So this mouse is quite, it weighs really in the middle, not too heavy, not too light. It weighs in at 84 grams, so not as light as the Kinzu V2 at like 70 grams, and not as heavy as like the Sensei, for example. In terms of the shape, it sports 53 by 123 by 27 centimeters. So fairly, if you can see in this picture with a comparison of all my ambidextrous mice, it's fairly medium sized, so it's not as large as Sensei, slightly smaller, but definitely feels slightly larger than Kinzu. So in terms of my hand when I grip it, I really, really like it because the indented side, or in the indents, really make it feel like the Sensei and the Kinzu. So for example, you can see these pictures, my thumb is able to really claw it in a little way, but I'm somewhat palm gripping it as well. For example, if I use the AM, because it's not as indented in the middle, my hand doesn't really feel as comfortable. For the AM, maybe I'll do a review on that as well. I feel like I'm more palm gripping it, and I can't really grip it as nicely. But for the FK, the indent does make a huge difference. So if you've ever used the SteelSeries Sensei or the SteelSeries Kinzu, it's very similar to that. The Zowie AM is more similar to that of the IO 1.1. It's slightly bulkier. This is slightly sharper. So someone like the Taipan in that way, I guess, but the Taipan is slightly sharp. It indents slightly more as well. So to be honest, because of the indent, it's fastly becoming one of my favorite mice out of all the mice I've used. And I'm now, like, rarely do I really pick up a mouse and use it for maybe a day or two and become really attached to it. The SteelSeries Sensei, the SteelSeries Zai was actually one of them, and this is actually one of the other ones as well. Maybe because I really enjoy this ambidextrous form factor from the IO 1.1 and WMO days, but this is really just my opinion, and I love the shape, and added with the click, the Huano switches, which I'm really okay with, and the S3990 sensor. This is fastly, again, becoming one of my more favorite mice. So if you can get it, I think at $49.99, even though it looks somewhat cheap and it does sport the same internals as the previous AM, I do think I would prefer it over the AM. Even though some people might say, oh, it's the same price, it's not really an upgrade. Well, to be honest, if it feels more comfortable in your hand, I really suggest that you buy it. So, in conclusion, definitely a worthwhile mouse from Zowie, and really because maybe gamers or people have been complaining the Zowie or the Zowie AM was too thick or bulky in that sense. They made a mouse to really suit the need of gamers, and I think that Zowie is really doing a great job. They're really responding to gamers in that sense. And overall, with the great sensor, better clicks, even though it's the same switches, and a better form factor for my hand at least, I think it's a great buy. So hope you guys enjoyed that video review. I'll hopefully be writing up a review as well for this, and hope you guys like our Facebook page, or like my Facebook page at iTechTech. And if you need mouse feet, again, you can head over to my eBay store at stores.ebay.com/iTechTech, or my web store at itech.com. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the support. Hopefully I'll be coming out with more reviews in the future. Alright, thanks guys.